it is not one of those areas that in a few minutes look at how can agriculture really drive this economy. Agriculture, Honourable Speaker, is a key supporter to employment. The greater proportion of those who are employed in this country are employed in the agricultural sector, and it has immense potential to employ even more. It is one of the main drivers in terms of earning foreign exchange, and Honourable Speaker, is the key driver to industrialization. This country requires industrialization. I have absolutely no problem with financing education, and I know education is a liberator and an equalizer. I have no problem in doing roads and doing electricity and all the other areas. But Honourable Speaker, as an individual and as a member of this House, I have a problem in a country where we are not focusing on creating jobs. And the easiest way of creating jobs is supporting agriculture. Honourable Speaker, if we give agriculture 3.9% against a lot of effort by the African Union through the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program, where we have been discussing and negotiating and signing protocols to support agriculture at least 10%, and having evidence from countries like Rwanda, countries like Ethiopia, countries even like Tanzania here, who have given significant support to agriculture and are realizing double-digit growth, then we realize that we are missing the point most of the time. It is important to have very educated people, but it is also very frustrating to have educated people who have no jobs, when we have opportunities to create those jobs. And if you may want to look at it, Honourable Speaker, agriculture is the one that basically will give us sustainable agri-food systems. And for us to have sustainable agri-food systems, a lot of work goes by and jobs are created. Increased public investment can only occur easily in agriculture. This is where almost everyone in the community, almost every Kenyan can invest. Inclusivity of the youth and also generalizing the growth, inclusive growth, can easily happen in agriculture. These are key themes that are integrated in the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. They are key themes that are integrated in the Africa Agenda 2063 for Africa, and they are key themes that are integrated in the Vision 2030 of this country. So they are there, but they are not really responded to effectively. If we take a close look at bottom-up economic transformation agenda, out of the 9 priority areas that are considered as growth areas in that particular agenda, 6 have an agricultural, in fact 7, considering fisheries as it were, they have an agricultural background, because blue economy and fisheries basically has been agriculture. So if we look at what support we are giving to the dairy sector, the tea sector, the rice sector, the edible oils, leather, and so on, then we realize that we are not doing enough. Honourable Speaker, without appearing to lament a lot, if we just substituted the imports on edible oils alone, which takes close to 200 billion every year, and if we really worked seriously on substituting total imports on food, which goes up to 522 billion every year, Honourable Speaker, we can do a lot in this particular country. We can create more jobs, we can have very strong systems, and we can also employ a lot of youth. So, Honourable Speaker, agriculture is short of 56 billion. And I would like to correct our chairman. The chairman says agriculture has been sufficiently funded. The chairman on Budget and Appropriation Committee, the agriculture lacks. Out of those, they proposed 135 billion, they were given 79 billion. So they are short of 56 billion. So we start from a shortfall point. And this shortfall has ramifications across the sector. One of the key areas that is seriously affected, in some sectors and some state corporations, they do not even have personal emolument, compensation for staff, compensation for employees. In some of them, money is lacking. If you look at our agricultural research system, it is one of the most affected. Kenyan Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization requires about 500 billion to meet their budget deficit. If we cannot fund our agricultural research systems, then it means we will be poor in terms of technologies, innovations, and management practices. So we cannot be able to drive the agricultural economy as it's supposed to be driven by the others. Honourable Speaker, I've just come from a convention in Bologna, in Rome, in Italy. And this particular convention, Honourable Speaker, was on wheat, and I can confirm to this House that none of the Kenyan scientists attended that particular function. And it was a scientific conference where the global scientists in rice, in wheat, took the floor and discussed what they are doing in various areas of wheat. So we need to look at what we are doing in terms of the issues. Honourable Speaker, the other issue that I would like to bring to the fore is the issue of pending bills. We have pending bills that are accumulating, and I would like to thank the committee and thank the greater effort within the Treasury and government for considering to increase the budget and looking at the issue of improving the funding on fertilizer. The fertilizer subsidy has been demanding around 18 billion. At this time around, Honourable Speaker, we are grateful that at least it's been given that money. But we have a pending bill of around 16 billion again, which needs to be paid. We have pending bills that have been given, demanded at the court level. We have court orders to pay some of the pending bills. A classical example in the livestock sector, we have a pending bill called Alal. It's a common factor within the sector and is an embarrassment to the state. It has been taken to court many times. It has been negotiated out of court. The initial settlement was, the court determination was 6.2 billion, and then there was a negotiation between the government and the owners of the money to bring it down to 4 billion from 6.2. Then we did not pay in time, and then they went back to court and they were awarded 7.2 billion. So this is a pending bill that we need to look at. And also, when it comes to budget implementation, there are so many good ideas that have been put in the budget. We recognize the funding for infrastructure, which is really important for this country, and the fact that most of the stalled projects have already started working. I can speak positively from my background, Honourable Speaker. When it comes to management of the activities after the budget, Treasury needs to pull up their socks in terms of exchequer releases. We have had this issue of exchequer until sometimes, right now, most of the contractors are worried that they may not be paid in the next 27 days because there might not be sufficient exchequer. And also, the issue of the debt factor vis-a-vis the budget deficit. As a country, we are increasing in terms of the amount of money, in other the appetite to spend, but we have not done enough. And I want to point out at a case where we are spending a lot of money and we really need to refocus. I'm looking at the area of the CAIPs, the county integrated and aggregation pacts. Honourable Speaker, if you look at the 47 counties and ask yourself the extent to which these CAIPs have hand backward integration into who supplies to the CAIPs and what is going to be supplied, you realize that that particular correlation has not been built. We are at a point where we are funding now installations and equipment of the CAIPs. Honourable Speaker, we need to look at the software a lot more than a lot on the hardware. Honourable Speaker, when we look at the different areas of this country and the potential that we have as a country to actually supply to the industry and the extent to which agriculture supports the economy and the expectations that we should be looking at, where should we be? It would be best for us to be speaking about agriculture supporting the economy at 4% of GDP. But how did the others get there? Is it that they hit gold mine? Is it that they started from basic education and probably infrastructure to arrive at that particular level? Honourable Speaker, the answer is no. They all started from agriculture. We all have done geography, and in our time, we did American geography, where how they reorganized their agriculture and invested in it. Investing in agriculture is investing in people. When you invest in people, you empower everyone to build for to contribute for nation building. And we haven't done sufficient of that. So as we look at the budget, let's be remembering that as long as agriculture has a huge deficit, We can talk of a few projects which are happening in agriculture, and we always insist that they should be spread across the country, and we insist on seeing the listing of the projects and where they are happening, and this, actually there is a theme spread across the country. But then, when you look at the intensity, you might realize that in a county, you are covering 2 sub-counties, and then maybe 2 wards. So at the end of the day, in a county, you are covering around 4 wards. So it is really not, about 7 or 8 wards. So it is not really happening into the scale. So we need to look at how can we make sure that it will happen to scale. The final thing, Honourable Speaker, I would like to say as I conclude is that as we look at the various value chains in this country, and as Treasury and Kenya Revenue Authority looks at possibilities of generating revenue, and as we do laws in this particular country, let us remember agriculture is the anchor for the people. Let us remember that this is where the Kenyans' livelihoods depend. And let us remember this is a very sensitive area. Especially now that we are moving into an election year, let us be very careful what we do in agriculture. I thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I support.
Thank you. The Honourable Christopher Aseka, member for Kisii.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Let me join also my colleagues in supporting this report by the Budget and Appropriation Committee on Budget Estimate 26-27, which provides that 4.8 trillion is the total budget that the government has presented to this House, out of which, Speaker, 420 billion goes to county governments, 50 billion will do the Parliament, 30 billion to judiciary. Speaker, 1.1 trillion is the declared deficit into this budget. Speaker, let me laud this budget by saying that it has addressed key drivers to bottom-up economical transformation agenda. In agriculture sector, it provisions about 18 billion going to fertilizer subsidy, which will go a long way in addressing food insecurity in our country. On health sector, Madam Speaker, this budget has enhanced the primary healthcare fund by about 19 billion. That will ensure that all of people within the Republic of Kenya will access free, quality healthcare at the level 1, 2, 3 hospitals in our villages. This budget, Honourable Speaker, has also provisioned about 3.5 billion that will go to paying the village elders at a rate of 3,000 shillings per month. We'll be lobbying for more to increase this allocation. Madam Speaker, this budget has also provided resources to confirm close to 20,000 intern teachers who have been working as interns on permanent and pensionable terms. And also, it has provisioned resources to promote our teachers who have stagnated in one position for many years. Honourable Speaker, this budget has also provisioned money for capitation, though the Departmental Committee on Education said there's a deficit of about 57 billion, but I know in Supplementary 1, 57 billion will be provided to ensure that capitation is paid for in full at a rate of 22,000 for our secondary school, or our senior schools, 15,000 for junior secondary school, and even 2,000 for our primary schools. As we debate this, Honourable Speaker, there are issues that have come up out of this budget, and we need to be clear as a House that time has come that we address the challenge of pending bills within our sectors. We should be also asking ourselves that is it time that we declare pending bills as a domestic debt so that we don't subject our suppliers and our contractors to the suffering that they're going through. Two, we need also to address the issue of collection of revenue. 25, 26 treasury projects that there will be a revenue deficit of about 100 billion. We have a 1.1 trillion deficit in 26, 27. we need to call KRA to order to ensure that they improve and even increase the tax base to ensure that the collections are up to date. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of electronic procurement in government that has really slowed down absorption of resources and even processing of development projects in this republic. Treasury must ensure that this platform works and ensure that all procurements are onboarded on this platform. And I know by so doing, this government will realize a substantive saving that get lost through corruption within this circle. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, we need also to call our partners in Senate to order because time has come that we must ensure that the budgets for the two houses reflects the number in the two houses. We need now to address the parliament budget by ensuring that it is as per the number of members of parliament and Senate. I'll be proposing an amendment at the committee of the whole house to ensure that this one is realized. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Clive Gisairo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On the onset first, Honorable Speaker.
Very kindly, Honorable Gisairo, let me just recognize these students. I know some of them are leaving. Honorable members, seated in the Speaker's Gallery this morning, we have students from St. George's Girls, Nairobi, from Dagoretti North Constituency, Nairobi County. And also, I would like to recognize students seated in the public gallery this afternoon. Students from St. Teresa Primary School, Embakasi West Constituency, Nairobi County, you are welcome to the National Assembly to continue observing proceedings of the House. You may proceed, Honorable Gisairo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Right from the onset, Honorable Speaker, I do support the report and the proposals therein. Honorable Speaker, I will dwell on 2 or 3 sectors stated in the report. And first of all, Honorable Speaker, I will start with the education sector. And I also would like, could have wished that Honorable Japheth Nyakundi could have been here because he equally may have not gone through the report despite sitting in that committee. Honorable Speaker, while we say that the budget has increased to 781 billion in the education sector, we also need to be awake and alive to the fact that the student count has also been increasing at the same rate or even at a higher rate than the amounts we're increasing. Honorable Speaker, we have to realize that even the capitation has always been falling short, both for primary schools and the senior school. And with this, if it continues, we are going to have an entire systems collapse because all schools are not able to meet their day-to-day expenses, and the school head teachers and principals are struggling to run the schools and therefore heavily depending on the NGCDF for infrastructure and other kind of support through bursaries. Honorable Speaker, while we say that 56.7 billion has been allocated to the Higher Education Loans Board, this is gross underfunding of that board. Honorable Speaker, right now the board is only able to give money for upkeep for students and not able to send the capitation amount for these students in scholarships and loans that is meant directly to go to the universities themselves. And this has led to universities now accumulating a pending bill of now exceeding 100 billion. Honorable Speaker, this affects the quality in the higher institutions of learning and therefore compromises the quality of graduates that we are releasing to the country. Honorable Speaker, another issue in the education sector is the research allocation of the budget. For any developed country, if we want to reach the dreams that we are having and proclaiming out there, we must have this country invest in research. Honorable Speaker, we are yet to reach even 1% allocation into research of our GDP. As it were, we are gyrating below 0.8%. There is no way we'll become a first world economy if we are not going to put more resources into research and development into the State Department of Research. As long as we keep underfunding that State Department and research in this country, we will continue being a third world country and only hoping for a better country. Honorable Speaker, the Kenya National Examination Council has been given 9.9 billion as per this report. I'm made to understand an extra 1.5 billion will be allocated to give it approximately 11.4 billion. Honorable Speaker, NEC has always been underfunded. Last year alone, they were underfunded by almost 4.2 billion. And this is the reason whereby examiners are not even being paid on time, and up to date, those who were examined last year have not been paid. Honorable Speaker, this year, they required approximately 14 billion. We are still underfunding them to a point we are actually budgeting to have a pending bill over and above the 4.2. If this trend continues in the next 2 financial years, Kenya National Examination Council will be having pending bills more than their request for that financial year. Honorable Speaker, my ask would have been that we start capitating examination money. The same way we send capitation, money following the student, exam money sent to NEC is not equivalent to the number of students. We just give a round figure, not take into consideration how many students we have sitting for examination. If we use the capitation model, then we'll address the Kenya National Examination Council problems, have invigilators and examiners well paid, and this will improve the quality of exam and exam environment that we have. Otherwise, in the next few years, we'll not have even examiners to examine or invigilate and mark those examinations. Honorable Speaker, when we look at the youth, we do note here that 4.7 billion has been put into the Nyota program. While we all agree that this is a donor-funded program, and it was well-intended, we need also to have statistics, the beneficiaries, and the success rate, which we can independently verify. I heard the chair say that in this county, he has seen success rate. That is commendable. But, Honorable Speaker, I don't have a single case in my constituency. And many members here cannot point to any case, but they will stand and say in their county, we want things that are verifiable, not by the respective leaders of that area, but any member, because this is public funds. Any member of the public should be able to verify that this is the success story and this is what these monies are doing. Otherwise, we'll end up in the same direction of the Hustler Fund, which we do not know who are the beneficiaries, at what rate they've grown, what is the success rate, and something that we can verify. I would request that I don't be interrupted after sitting here for all those hours. I will not be added. I have not spoken anything out of order. Well, Honorable Speaker.
Chair, you requested for a point of order or point of information?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Is it a point of order, Chairman?
Point of information.
You know, if it's a point of information, I'm going to ask the honorable member whether he is willing to be informed.
I'm not willing to be informed.
So if he's not willing to be informed, unfortunately, I'll ask him to
I'm actually
continue.
done informing the chair.
Thank you.
So, Honorable Speaker, what we are saying is, while these funds are going to the youths, something that we as leaders will not have a problem supporting, we will need to be able to see the success story behind these people without being read by the chair telling us that it's successful without any supporting evidence. Honorable Speaker, we've allocated 12.5 billion to support youth training at the National Youth Service, NYS. Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Gisero, I have a point of order from the chair budget. So proceed and prosecute your point of order. What is out of order, Honorable Chairperson for budget?
What I was trying to tell the Honorable Member Clive is that on Nyota, Nyota is not a selective program. It is a program that is conducted in each and every constituency, the 290 constituencies in Kenya. So I think it is not in order for the honorable member to claim that in his constituency there is no single program of Nyota. If you lack information, I'll be able to provide you that details of who are the beneficiaries in your constituency. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker,
That's a valid point of order.
that's the interruption
from,
I requested not to have.
From a point of, speaking from a point of fact.
Because
so
that is not what I said. What I said, Honorable Speaker, is that I do not have the detail that I can verify. I did not say there is no beneficiary. As I said, Honorable Speaker, the chair just his intention is to disrupt me. Let him also be attentive and listen to the proceedings keenly by putting his phone aside. Honorable Speaker, we've allocated 12.5 billion to NYS. Honorable Speaker, this can be a very productive program. But if you notice nowadays, no youths are interested in attending the recruitment process of NYS. The reason being, we do not give these young people the end game of attending the NYS. Why do the security agencies, while they need to recruit, why not go to NYS records and pick the students who benefited from NYS and automatically transition them to the security agencies? This will encourage young people to join the NYS and learn from it. And that will get more youths off the streets to join NYS, get proper training to become patriots and productive in this country. So, Honorable Speaker, I hope I'll be added a few seconds, courtesy of Honorable Atandi. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, the confirmation of the 20,000 is underwhelming. Going by the court cases, I felt that we should have confirmed the entire 44,000, just in case the ruling goes against the TSC, which will render the remaining 24.
Give him a minute because of the interruptions.
Thank you. We'll make the 24,000 student intern teachers who will be remaining outside to be automatically jobless. The assertion that the government has employed 100,000 teachers, there is nothing further from the truth. What the government has employed is 56,044 interns and plans to employ an additional 20,000 by confirming 20,000 interns. Therefore, in total, the government will have employed 76,000 students and not the 100,000 students. Internship is not employment. Internship is, by description, I see my chair really itching to correct me, internship is like a training. It is not
employment. But I can
employment.
see a point of order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have finished. There is no need to have a point of order.
Chair, unfortunately, he has already finalized prosecuting that matter, so your point of order cannot be prosecuted. Honorable members, I see so many people would like to speak, but the person at the top is the Honorable Rindikiri Mugambi, member for Buhuri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a very important annual program that we all need to be given a time to explain to the Kenyans, because I believe we are not talking to ourselves, we are talking to the Kenyans. Madam Speaker, I join my colleagues in applauding the successful presentation by the chairman and the entire committee on budget. Madam Speaker, my keen interest is on the State Department of Housing and Urban Planning and Public Works. Madam Speaker, I heard a member state that housing is not a priority for the Kenyan budget, but I am here to remind anybody with that kind of thought that housing is an aspect that is anchored in our Constitution. And I want to applaud the bold step the ruling party and the ruling government has taken to implement the housing programs. Madam Speaker, on the budget 1094, you will notice that there are key things that we are targeting to achieve in the following financial year. Madam Speaker, let's not lose sight that housing is not only providing shelter, but it's also a source of employment. Madam Speaker, we have direct and indirect employment as a result of the housing programs that we are developing. Madam Speaker, it's a skills transfer opportunity. Madam Speaker, we have about 4,500 interns right now who are in various sites where we are doing housing programs, ESP market, institutional housing, Nairobi Leavers programs, and also the civil servants housing units. These are gaining experience, and we believe that at the end of it all, the employment of our youth will improve, and equipping them with the right technology. Madam Speaker, we are requesting for support, and the committee...
I see 2 points of order here, one by the Honorable Harrison Kombe and the Honorable Ndindi Nyoro. I'm assuming that you guys are intending to speak? Okay. You may continue, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We are also, through housing, it is causing an indirect spell economic improvement programs, particularly manufacturing, transport, etc. So, Madam Speaker, really, the ones who are bringing down the issue of housing, they really don't understand the concept of housing. Madam Speaker, we have over 790 ongoing projects associated with housing. Madam Speaker, there are so many counties or constituencies that have not been covered. So we made a presentation, Madam Speaker, that we consider that we don't slow the pace of these projects. Because, Madam Speaker, if we slow, we will slow the aspect of housing, employment, and also the other consequential effect which come as a result of housing. Madam Speaker, we have had a conversation with the chairman of budget, and we have agreed on the way forward because we are requesting for 150 billion, which includes about 50 billion that will come from the sales of housing, and another 100 billion which will come through securitization. But, Madam Speaker, we have agreed on the way forward. We have consulted the Treasury, and therefore, because I know many people are going to look and find out what really happened, we have agreed on the way forward on that. So I want to applaud the committee for taking that initial step. Madam Speaker, the issue of equity, and when we're talking about the issue of equity and equality, Madam Speaker, there are counties which haven't benefited from this, from the housing levy fund. And it is our view that those counties are given opportunity. So when we are asking for additional funding, we really know exactly what those countries which are not covered. And, Madam Speaker, if you go to Mombasa, Nairobi, the biggest cities, that's where the largest amount of housing demand is. And we cannot put our hands under the sun. So we must continue with this program. We must continue to have it funded. I had the privilege of being in Mombasa, and you can see all the housing units that have been put in Mombasa, Kilifi, and Kwale. They have all been applied for, and actually the demand is doubling. So we'll continue developing the housing sector. Madam Speaker, there is also the institutional housing, which is going towards creation of accommodation for the students. Not every student is down from large families. So we feel that this is going to enhancing the student accommodation, the civil servant also. The Nairobi Leaver Commission, Madam Speaker, is doing a great job. And I want to ask the members, please support this budget, because majority of the amount that we are putting on the metropolitan and the urban and metropolitan money is going towards Nairobi Leavers development. We are not talking about Nairobi Leavers, we are talking about Nairobi Leavers. So, and it is a support system in the chain of housing. So you really cannot separate the two, because we are doing the market and we are doing the housing next door, and we are developing that infrastructure so that it will be a comprehensive program. And in any case, we are improving our environment. Madam Speaker, the issue of Kisii and the Kusip, which falls under our department, we are requesting for 500 million to go towards completion as a government commitment. Unfortunately, this was not considered, but again, we have since agreed with the Treasury on the way forward, and I want to thank the committee for looking at that as a special case, because, Madam Speaker, we have, particularly in Kusip, we have 79 municipalities, and the two of them are the ones that are funded by donors. That is Dadaab and Kakuma. Madam Speaker, we are in good terms with our donors, and we don't want to disappoint them, but because of the economic situations and the source of revenue, it has been agreed that we will look at that as a supplementary point. Madam Speaker, that's, and then we have the public works, and I want to thank the committee for listening to our prayer of trying to ensure that this is not crippled. Madam Speaker, this is the department that does the supervision of many programs that the government, and also the coast line infrastructure. So we want to thank the committee because they have looked and that we need more money, and they have handed to us about 128 million shillings towards these programs. Madam Speaker, I will not finish without touching that overall the budget is good, but my emphasis, I would like more money put in education, just like everybody has said. The government has really tried very much. The volume of money that we have seen increase for the last 3 years. And the demand is also increasing. But really, let's say something positive has been done. Madam Speaker, we have issues of capitation. Madam Speaker, we have issues of recruitment of teachers, which we are seeing increase over the years, and we really want to encourage that more money is put in this program. We also would like all the institutions to have the correct infrastructure, Madam Speaker. We have to create a situation learning environment, and therefore the government should continue putting more money on the education sector besides the capitation. Madam Speaker, I am concerned about the equipping of the ICT hubs, which majority of these members are put up. Bore, we have put 6 of them. We have put the fittings, fixtures and fittings. We are now waiting for the computers. I hope and believe even some of these reductions I've seen, they have taken into account the supply or equipping of the computers now that majority of these members are waiting for. Madam Speaker, this is very key because of employment of our youth. And secondly, we want to create self-employment opportunities. Madam Speaker, the other issue, and I want to congratulate this Parliament and this committee for taking a lot of keen interest on the health sector. And Madam Speaker, I learned a statement that Kenyan Parliament has passed a very important bill. That bill should be accompanied with serious financing. Because everywhere they cry right now is health, 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 health. So I am happy to note that the government is really very keen on this aspect also. Madam Speaker, before I finish, let me point out this. There are some areas that are not equally represented. And I must point out, particularly in the areas of water and electricity. Going forward, I think that's the most important thing, is the budget committee should try as much as possible to have resources, the thin resources, distributed as much as possible across the counties, and particularly the areas that have been marginalized for a long time. So, Chairman Budget, I think we'll be watching very keenly because we don't want to go backward and finding some areas are getting more and others are getting less. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support and ask that going forward, let's be our brother's keeper. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members seated in the public gallery this afternoon, we have students from Muvuti Boys School from Machakos constituency, Machakos County. And we also have seated in the speakers gallery this afternoon, students from Mount Kinangop Girls School from Kinangop constituency, Nyandarua County. You are welcome to the National Assembly to continue observing proceedings of the House. The Honorable David Ndakwa, member for Malava.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also want to rise and support this budget estimates for the year 2026-27, while proposing great allocation of resources in the areas that directly improve the lives of our people. First of all, Madam Speaker, I give my congratulations to the Budget Committee led by our able chair, Honorable Atandi, for giving us a credible document that we look into and make some observations. Madam Speaker, I draw my attention to this House on the important role played by the area elders in this country. Madam Speaker, these are men and women who are always gotten on the first point, the first online, first in resolving family disputes with the little capacity in understanding law but using their wisdom, security without sophisticated machineries, and also the social challenges, Madam Speaker, that are within our communities. Looking at land disputes where they have no law to understand, but they make it to a reality by resolving the conflicts. Madam Speaker, looking at the peace of our society, the fabrics is very delicate. They always bring our societies together in the name of cohesion. And they also try to tackle society and grassroots governance. Madam Speaker, they have been doing a lot without any stipends in terms of monetary allocation. And to them, it has been no facilitation at all, but they have been dedicated to their duties. I like to give credit to the government and the budget committee for coming out in their own wisdom and feel that they provide a regular stipend, which should be structured 3K per month as a recognition for their service to this nation. That one, I must say, it is the realization and a dream come true where my predecessor, Honorable Malulu Injenti, had come up with a motion for the area elders to have something at the end of the month. Madam Speaker, I want to emphasize on the increased funding on the youth. Youth are the investment of this country.
Order, Honorable Dakwa. Honorable members, I know that several of you had expressed interest. The Honorable Joshua Mali, Honorable Harrison Kombe, Honorable Joshua Meli, and Honorable Zamzam from Mombasa. We encourage you to come when it's next scheduled. Honorable members, the Honorable Ndakwa will have 6 minutes to continue debate on this. Honorable members, and the time now being 1 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Wednesday, 3rd June 2026 at 2:30 p.m.